Good evening, this is the Oscar Expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time to review Didi. This is the debut film of Sean Wong, who actually just got Oscar nominated this morning for his documentary, Grandma and Grandma. The film's about a 13-year-old boy growing up in the year 2008. His family is Taiwanese American, and it touches on the experience of a second-generation child. And I found this film extremely enjoyable and thoroughly relatable. I also came of age, I guess you'd say, around the same time period. So, of course, I was gonna love this and all the references to early social media like the AOL messaging and the MySpace. But I feel like anyone would be able to relate to this coming of age tale just in the sheer awkwardness and inability to like gain insight into your situation that this film portrays, which is such an interesting thing for a character to be like so unlikable, but just sympathetic based on just them being young and ignorant about like the people around them, not able to engage with his family in like a meaningful way, not able to engage with his own emotions in a meaningful way. He really doesn't know who he is and is searching for identity in whatever is around him and just learning by trial and error. Of course, Asian Americans are gonna really relate to this film. And I also think this film really speaks to men and what masculinity kind of is as you grow up and how your peers are instilling that into you and what that causes your relationship and like your criticism of yourself to look like. And this film is also hilarious. Like, I just had a great time watching it throughout. A-grade cringe on the level of Bo Burnham's 8th grade. Yeah, I found this movie to be effortlessly lovable. Clearly the director is pulling from his own experiences. And even early on in the movie where there's not really any conflict going on, I was just vibing with it. Like, I didn't need the movie to have conflict. This filmmaker just has a talent for making the everyday so exciting just because of the level of detail and the relatability and the realness that he's able to capture. I think the movie is very confidently shot, really well acted. Like, this director got all these personalities of these adolescent children down to a T. And the period detail. It's funny to watch a movie that takes place in 2008 that feels so much like a period movie. Maybe that's just because I was like half of my age back then. Well, I think it's just because they show all the things that are now dated and they really harp on those things, like even just screensavers, pieces of technology that have become obsolete. It's not only that though, like you were talking about how the movie's about masculinity. I feel like even the ideas around masculinity and how people are growing up now is probably very different. Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, maybe that's why it feels more like a time capsule. It feels like the generation now is expected to be much more open and self-aware. And this felt like it came at the time before that shift started happening. You know, one obvious piece of that is like, you cannot be homophobic now. But that was like the norm for boys to say things that were homophobic or just have like homophobic undertones as a way of like reinforcing heteronormativity and reinforcing like these ideas of getting girls and what that means for your status and how like if you don't get girls that you get made fun of for being a virgin, and everyone makes fun of each other for being a virgin even though the people who are making fun of the virgins are also virgins. You know, at the time it just felt like everyday banter, the way that the way the kids just relate to each other and poke fun at each other, and it's treated as such instead of being judged through the lens of history. Like, now we look at those things and we're like, Jesus, that sucks that people were saying these things to each other. But really at the time and the way that characters interact is like, hey, that's just how it is. Isaac Wong as the lead here is just perfect. I love that the performances here are not over the top. They just feel very grounded and real. It seems like there's an effort to make this character so realistic that he's not necessarily likable. And Isaac Wong harnesses this painful awkwardness that felt so raw and authentic that you might not even think of it as a performance. It just feels so realistic. And I also love the performance from his mother, Joan Chen, and this character of like the mother who is underappreciated and then gets a moment to, you know, express her feelings instead of the actor like playing that moment big when she has, you know, an opportunity to deliver her point of view. It comes across still as just very truthful and quiet and understated. And she played the character so lovingly. And I think that performance is responsible a lot for the warmth that we get in this film. I did think that the way that this film reaches a boiling point and then comes to the cool down was maybe a little more familiar to other coming of age films. Maybe a little vague to me. I don't know if I want to say that the resolution was rushed, but I think that part of the film just felt a little less surprising to me, or it's like, okay, I know where I am like in this story because I've seen other stories like it. But the beats are more understated. Like, it wasn't as though the character went through some big transformation that felt out of place. But I really loved this film, and I think that the filmmaker has a great voice and a brilliant way of making everyday moments feel cinematic and exciting and worthy of the big screen. You said that the main character is very unlikable, but I never even felt that in the movie because I was just like, yep, that's just what people are like. And I feel like we touched on a lot of the sincerity of this film, but it's really funny. Like, it was hilarious. We barely even said anything about it. Amazing cringe humor here. Yeah, like, I was laughing out loud. It has one of the funniest scenes that I will probably see all year. I just like how unpretentious it is. I like that it doesn't try to go over the top. It's trying to capture the truth of what it is to be that age and what it was like to be that age during this very specific time. Certainly one of the people I'm looking forward to their sophomore film the most out of Sundance this year. I would give this movie another strong 8 out of 10. In retrospect, it was like easily one of the best I've seen here. And I think I'm actually landing on a 9 out of 10 with this one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Did you have a MySpace?